Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics. That's Noon Classics. This is episode number 2208 and Doubleshot number 2102. I got two Batman trades. First, we have Batman in the Forties. Yeah, I got this from a store that's actually quite nearby me. It's like less than 5 minutes. Not official comic shop per se. They sell comics in it, but they're not official comics. Mostly they're a gaming store who just happens to sell comics. I bought it from him. I got this, and I think I got this book the same time I got the. I get the same store. I also got Mr. Mariko from there, and some other books. But this mostly is some really DC picking stories as some of the really good Batman stories of the 1940s. Though, excuse me, we have these following stories in here. We have basically the first stories they have in here from Titan Comics 27, 33, and 38. In the case of 27, mostly it's Batman and Jim Gordon's debut. 33 is basically Batman's origin story, which is like 2 pages. 38 is the debut of, Dick Grayson. Issue 7 is basically what if the people turn against Batman. And we have another origin for issue 47. We have a bunch of covers in here. We have the covers from Batman #1, basically as milestones, mostly put. And then we have cover gallery props. Titan Comics 61, 127, Batman 48, 10 and 48. 30 Joker follows suit. We have debuted that one with the Joker Mobile. Yes, the Joker Mobile. Which I think he used a few times in the Golden Age. The Penny Plunderers. This is a very infamous story because we have debut of a guy called the Penny Plunderer. Why is he called Penny Plunderer? Because he has this strange thing of stealing pennies. Yes, and he hates pennies. Yeah, he appears in this story and like one other story, and that's it for this guy. And if you're curious, this is from World's Finest. Yes, World's Finest, issue number 30. Now, the thing with this story is that this is the story of how Batman gets Johnny Penny in the Batcave. This is the very story he gets it from. And here's the strange thing about the story. Did you know the story is mostly still canon after all these years? Has been very little altered to the story at all. Then we have 1,000 Secrets of the Batcave, where you have some guys to find the Batcave. We have various other stuff in the Batcave itself, which this was the original look of the Batcave. Now, if you're curious though, the Batcave did not make its debut in the first Adventures of Batman. That came a little bit later. If you want to think basically something for debut of the Batcave, it's the Batman serials from 1940s. Whereas for it was the Bat's Cave, and all that was in it was simply a desk, the Bat symbol, and his car. That's it. The Batman one seemed like it could have been like a TV show where you had the Batman keep the costumes in like a filing cabinet. And the first one also debuted of Our Pennyworth. Which, yes, the other media stuff, like the visual stuff, that does help the comics. And mostly it doesn't exactly show like all the other stories here. But then we have The Adventures of Alfred, just a quick little Alfred story here. It lasts for a few pages. Then we have Dick Grayson, Bruce Wayne loses the Guardian to Dick Grayson. Yeah, this story was also retold in Batman Gotham Knights. Yeah, and it's basically all just a plot by two people trying to exploit Bruce Wayne's fortune. Which might be quite interesting. The Clocks of Doom. Yeah, this basically features something related to the Clock King. And then we have Your Face is Your Fortune, which is a early Catwoman story, or no otherwise known as the Cat. Yeah, in the Golden Age, she never wore her proper costume. When people think of her Golden Age costume, with the purple outfit, with like the skirt and a little bit green, that's people consider to be the Golden Age attire. Not this outfit here. Yeah, this outfit, they don't consider that at all. And it's implying that Catwoman is falling for Bruce Wayne with Batman, and that kind of evolution years later. And then we have the story is wrapped up here. Actually, we continue the story here. And then you have some very out of place for Batman to do, or Bruce Wayne, where he's going out, and Bruce Wayne's like, "Where are you going, young steer?" Oh, just as a Batman. I suppose you can come along too. Oh, they might be too old to understand, sort of thing. And then he proceeds to attempt to spank Robin. Yeah. And they publish this in the 40s, and they put this panel in the comic book. I mean, they could easily just say, oh yeah, this is basically comic back then. They could easily just... Now here's the thing, Dick Grayson's a teenager. And the whole thing is spanking thing, ugh. I'm not going to talk about it at all. Moving on. It's something that really doesn't age very well. Now, Scoop and Sentry. Two important things happen with this one. Number one, we have debut of Vicky Vale, one of Batman's longest running love interests. As a matter of fact, her first live action experience was in the first Batman movie. And they were blonde for some reason. This story here is also debut of quite possibly one of the best Batman villains of all time, Jarvis Tench the Mad Hatter. Though here's the thing about this version anyways. After the story, the Mad Hatter himself would never show up in any comic book again. Like this version anyways, until many, many years later. Because they had an imposter show up. Yeah, and this imposter also showed up on some episodes of the Batman 66 TV show. It was issue 49. It was a very nice issue. Which basically the one of the stories is the Joker story. Which is basically a story that features other stuff. Now, Mad Hatter, this version himself would not actually appear again for many, many years. He was not returning again until issue 510 of Detective Comics in 1982. Yeah, and that one showed up in 1956. He was Detective Comics 230 as, well, this guy claimed to be him. We don't know what his actual name is. He claimed to our attention, but he really is not. Yep. Yeah, and then, of course, this version of the character got killed off in a one-shot in 2009. Batman and Barglia Dragon Knight. Mark Waid killed him off. Which is interesting. But in the case of Vicky Vale herself, she would still appear. Oh yeah. So you can think of this as a key issue for her. Yeah, she would occasionally appear over the years. Like, at one point, she does find out Bruce Wayne is Batman. But nothing really comes in. She doesn't really blackmail or anything. Not necessarily. She became a kind of recurring character a lot over the years. At one point, I don't think they stopped using her per se. They just have her constantly appearing at pages of Batman. Her last appearance prior to the reboot was issue 703. Also, here's something though. You might not know this. Those of you who have read all of Batman White Wonder, at least know about the review for Linkara. He basically had Vicky Vale was written to be talking from her rear end. She was talking underwear about how she wanted to sleep with Bruce Wayne. Yeah, and the fact that she didn't do, and apparently also the fact that he has something quite strange though. Apparently, she is. They reveal, oh yeah, she's working for the Gotham Gazette, which interesting, and the fact that, well, now here's the thing about the reverse of her. Vicky Vale herself, I think, would pop up. Not a lot, pretty much post Flashpoint, not really. So after this issue, she would occasionally appear in comics a lot of the years. And then we have an issue of Clayface Walks, which I believe was the second appearance of the original company's Beza Carlo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was City Comics 49 was the second appearance of the character. Issue 80 was at the time the finale for Two-Face until they kind of basically brought him back. Half Man, Half Monster. They have True Story of Batman. That's it. Just a lot of really good classic stories of Batman. I'll give this one a 10 out. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's not as good as some other stuff for Batman, but this stuff gets better for him. Next up, we have the final trade. Now, this, yes, definitely is the final trade for Mariko Tamaki's run for Detective Comics. This is the true ending of her run. Yeah, the 3 issues was in this trade here. You're thinking 3? Weren't they short? No, they were really long. There are 2 stories in these issues. First one is basically we have Riddle Me This. Yes, a Riddler story. Why not? And she writes the opening story, but the backup story would go Gotham Girl Interrupted. Yes, Gotham Girl Interrupted. Written by Sonia Grace. The same person who put his foot in his mouth on Twitter. Yes, I have heard about this guy. Yes. This is the same guy who wrote the really bad Iceman series. Yeah. And he's tasked to do the Gotham Girl story, which actually found me quite interesting. Yeah, so the rhythm of this one is basically you have Batman and Debbie Donovan, who actually, she inadvertently was put there to set up the Task Force X series, Task Force Z series, and she's still here as a supporting character. And we have debut of her daughter, yes, her daughter, who's a judge, who gets attacked at the courthouse. And they also mentioned about citizen criminals. Basically, this would seem like something Batman would not bother investigate at all, but this is something that, well, they do investigate. So, over the course of this book, they've revealed that apparently Catherine Donovan, that's Debbie Donovan's daughter, was responsible for it, and she dies at the end of the 3-parter. Debbie, I'm not sure she does much anything since then. She's not appeared in the comics since basically this book wrapped up, because right next issue is basically when Ram V takes over. The backup story, Gotham Interrupted, is mostly put her investigating about hacks per se. It is also quite strange that we have appearances about Gotham Girl in this 3-parter. Now, as for why she's here, not really sure. She's not appeared in a comic book in quite some time prior to this one. Yes. Yeah, and this I think was the first appearance since Tom King wrapped up his run on the book. Yeah. So this is one of her more recent appearances she made in this 3-parter. And yeah, this was definitely, let's see. She also appeared for the final 3 issues of Task Force Z, which the final issue came out in September of last year. But in the case of the final issue of this book here, this came out in June. So you could say that Task Force Z is the most recent appearance to date, which kind of it is. But here's basically what happened with her. Like, so basically, after she ran her course in Batman, like completely, and guest appearance in Flash, She didn't do very much until she popped up. Well, you might think, what about the Backer Birds Playbook? That came out during the Tom King era, so you could say she's only appeared in a handful of comics since basically wrap up Tom King's run, like 3 issues of Detective, and the final 3 issues Task Force E, and that's pretty much it for her. And also, at one point, she hangs out in Wayne Manor and eats up soggy fries. Yeah. I thought it was quite interesting. She just goes to the abandoned Wayne Manor, which, hey, Batman's not using it, so why not live there? Though in story, there's a reason why, because Joker took his money and gave Lucius Fox for reasons. But this actually is a pretty good ending to. By the way, ending goes to run here for a really good set of issues. Though once again, the book volume number is restarted again because apparently for some strange reason DC likes doing this now, where they restart the trade numbering, not the individual issue, the trade numbering for this series for reasons. Now, in the case of, well, also you see the back cover, the Riddler is kind of the main villain of this story. He's got a goatee now. Yes, the Riddler has got facial hair. Excuse me, which seems strange the fact he does that. I mean, it's interesting though the fact that Mariko Tamaki had where the final arc of a run and she's featuring the Riddler. Yep. And with this, basically, Mariko Tamaki's run is done. Final thoughts on her run on Detective Comics. And this definitely is, because next is Ram V. I think it's a good run. Craig Nickel thinks that basically she's an okay writer. I think she's a really good writer. That's just my opinion anyways. He may have his opinion, fine, whatever. But to say basically that the Shadows of the Bat storyline exposed her as a really bad writer, well, that she's not as good as she should be. Oh my gosh. When I heard that from him, I'm like, do you have any really freaking proof of this, dude? Because basically, this is one of those times you're talking out of your rear end. If that is your opinion, but claiming that it exposes her as a bad writer for that weekly storyline, no, that's a big fat lie. Yeah, Think Riddle is not a fan of writer like Mariko Tamaki. Like, he likes to, like, apparently his favorite book is Green Lantern. He one time claimed that Jeffrey Thorne, like, apparently, he said that he apparently shattered he broke this dimensional spectrum. And I'm like, no, he didn't. So I'm like, what book were you reading? But this book, in my opinion, was really good. Like, this run was fantastic. Basically, I did enjoy the fact that we brought back the concept of backup features for this run. Yeah, because when they had Tomas's book, they didn't really do backup features very much. It's all one story. I'm glad the fact they brought this back. Because this is probably the first time that this book has had backup feature that I can think of. Probably not since John Lane wrote the book. But I enjoyed it. And it's interesting, though, the fact that the final 3 issues are basically this thick enough basically fill one trade. So basically, for next year, talk about Detective Comics. If it's not something of the past, it's basically Gotham Nocturnal. Okay? But that's going to be pretty much a particular view. Next episode, Case Code, and another comic corner. It's on Doctor Who after that. Okay? Next video. Bye.